A well-done read aloud can make a text come to life and build a love for learning. But even more so, research shows that read-alouds are a great tool for building background knowledge, vocabulary, and comprehension. I'm Danielle, Literacy Product Specialist with Amplify, and today I'm going to share 3 tips you can use to make your read-alouds interactive and engaging. Before we dive into read-aloud tips, first we need to pick a text. It's super important when you're using a read-aloud as an instructional tool to make sure that the text is complex and rigorous. Especially since students aren't the ones doing the decoding, they can focus all of their cognitive efforts on making meaning. We also want to make sure the content of the text itself is worthy of time and attention. Try to find a text that has background knowledge and vocabulary connected to a wider body of information students can build over time. For example, I've selected Wood, Wire, and Wings about Emma Lillian Todd and her designs to improve airplanes. Second grade CKLA teachers, you might recognize this from the Age of Aviation unit. Now for the tips. Number 1 is movements for the vocabulary words. I've selected 3 high leverage words from the text: patent, revise, and breakthrough, because I know my students will encounter these words in future text on this topic. Before reading the story, I'm going to briefly introduce students to the vocabulary word and have them create a motion that represents the meaning. Then as I'm reading through the story, students are going to be listening for that word, and when they hear it, they'll do the motion that represents it. For example, if the word is breakthrough, students might create a motion like this to show a breakthrough idea. The next tip is to incorporate discussion strategies. When students are working with a rigorous text, they're going to need opportunities to stop, discuss, and process the information. If I know my students need a wiggle break, I might have them do a stand up, hand up, pair up, and have each partner share a challenge Emma encountered and how she overcame it. Of course, there's tons of other discussion strategies out there you could use, like a quick turn and talk, 4 corners. The opportunities are endless. And finally, tip number 3, I call the spotlight skill. This is where you're going to give students a purpose for listening, and when they hear an answer or information that supports that purpose, they're going to touch their nose. This is super easy to implement. You can choose a skill aligned to the standard or your primary focus objective for the day. For example, I might have students listening for problems that Emma was trying to solve. I hope these quick, low prep tips will help keep your students engaged in meaningful activities throughout the read aloud.